So today I'm going to talk about the healthy way to do shadow work and also a little bit about this holographic universe that we live in. So, yes, there is a mirror quality of this universe, but it is not a perfect mirror. Some things are a perfect mirror, but not everything. So, for example, some people say if you can spot it, you've got it, which is not true. That is incorrect. In fact, more concerning is when you cannot spot something. More than likely, you are willing to you are more likely to attract something that you can't see. A great example of that is if you are very attracted to a person who might have really great qualities, charisma, success, but you can't see very off-putting, disturbing things that other people can see, like that's more disturbing. So I don't want people to use phraseology to fuck themselves over. Essentially, that's what I'm here to say. It's not that if you can spot it, you've got it. It's if it upsets you and if it makes you stay upset, there's something about you that you need to look at. So if somebody upsets you, if a narcissist upsets you, does that mean you're a narcissist? Maybe it does, but more than likely, what it means is that you honestly don't believe that you create your reality. Because if you can still blame someone for something, if you still have a charge, and by the way, some forms of abuse are really intense, and sometimes it takes a while to let go, and it's important to speak up and vent about things, right? So we can't take this too far. We have to allow ourselves the human experience of venting, processing. Sometimes we don't know how to vent. Sometimes we don't know how to process. Sometimes our mouths have been shut for so long that like talking about it incessantly might be part of our healing process. 100%. In fact, there's often an overcorrection, right? If you've had your mouth shut for a long time, when you open the lid, you're going to want to talk all the time, right? There's like, it's like holding a tank, right, full of feelings that have been unfelt, unacknowledged, right? And they're going to come out. So if something bothers you, it's not necessarily that you have the exact same quality, but there is something about you that you're not acknowledging. So like that's a perfect example. A lot of people are upset, for example, about the government. Understandable, right? There's a lot of stuff going on in the world that we could all say is very upsetting, depending on how you look at it and depending on which point of view you look at it from. But see, that's why it's so important to, and one of my intentions in this lifetime is to help kids realize that they're unlimited and realize that they are not a victim of the system and a victim of reality, but that they are unlimited creators, right? If we're always bitching and bitching about the system, like we don't yet know that we're creators. And there is so much room for innovation and invention. And I mean, I know people who have, like, because of their desire and because they know who they are and what they're able to accomplish, like they've had laws changed, right? It's all about knowing who you are and knowing your power. So the problem with being too tight about shadow work, like God forbid I call a spade and say that person is X or that person is Y. We can't be too tight about that. And here's why. There's actually like the word biblical might be a little bit polarizing, but there's like a scientific, a spiritual scientific reason why. Women in particular are more critical of themselves, which is why one of the reasons why they are more prone to chronic illness, um, autoimmune, right? Which the body does not actually attack itself. However, it is a good metaphor for if I'm harsh and I talk to myself in harsh ways, then it makes sense that I would manifest something that attacks me in my body, which is often a fungus, a mold, a virus, or a bacteria. So women are particularly critical of themselves. And so women that do shadow work, I see this all the time. It's like they can't say something, like they're in a bad situation and they won't say it out loud, because they'll be like, no, but I mean, I have that quality too. Like, that, God forbid they say a sentence that would lead somebody to believe that they're a victim, as if God is judging you for saying that out loud. No, no one's judging you. Sometimes you have to call a spade a spade. Sometimes, like, you have been submerged in a very deceptive, disturbing environment your whole life. Maybe family secrets, maybe things that you've always felt but couldn't put your finger on. I can tell you for a fact that I've seen this, because I work with people, especially in healing the root cause of disease. I am a medical intuitive, and I've seen it with my eyes, the energy leaving the body when people finally say things out loud. Yes, I was abused. Yes, my husband locks me in my room and doesn't let me purchase things that I want in my house. Yes, that is abusive. Yes. Does that mean that I'm abusive? Maybe you're abusive in other ways. Of course, we all have abuser energy, but my point here is, don't be so tight about calling a spade, which is what my phrase that means. Say something out loud, acknowledge something for the way that it is. And sometimes that's hard to do. Sometimes we can't really see things the way that they are, because we see it how we are, or because of several traumas, we can't see things as they are. But what you can trust is your feeling, right? If you feel nauseous, right, when you kiss someone, trust that. If you feel physically uncomfortable around someone, trust that. Later down the line, you might find out information about them, that they are X, Y, and Z, and to be able to say that, oh, that's what it means when I feel that I'm around a person that might have those qualities. It's very important to put those two things together, because otherwise we are sub-animal. We're not even as intelligent as animals if we do not trust our instincts. Okay? Being conditioned out of your instincts is one of the most, like, we could call it satanic energies there are, because that's how God talks through us. Now, do we have to talk about it all day long? Oh my God, this person is this and they're this and blah, blah, blah. No, if you do that, it's your ego having an emotional addiction, right? If you get carried away with it, if you get addicted to it, if you get addicted to the story, if you can't stop talking about people in a blameful way, yeah, that's your problem. That's your problem. And whatever triggers you in the world is pointing you to something in your soul that is not free, for sure. However, I just needed to say this out loud. If you spot it, that doesn't mean you've got it. If you spot it and then you talk shit about it, there's something to look at. If you spot it and it disturbs you greatly, there's something to look at. The fact that something disturbs you might be the fact. For example, again, narcissists are just such a buzzword, and I've talked about them. Let's just use that as an example. If that deeply disturbs you, first of all, let's look at your own narcissism, because we all have a judge. We can all feel superior, but having a judge and feeling superior to people is not what comprises a narcissist. If you want to know what a narcissist is, go talk to a PhD in psychology who has worked with them for 40 years. I have. It takes a very specific boxes that you need to check and put together to comprise a clinical narcissist. But if they bother you, maybe that disturbance doesn't mean that you're like them. Maybe it means you're married to one and you won't admit it to yourself. Maybe it means that, like, your illness is that you acquiesce to other people's opinions of you, right? Maybe someone in your life, whether it be a friend or a parent, makes you feel guilty about something. Now, they can't really make you feel guilty, but you have an issue with guilt. That's part of your karmic wounding. I'm chronically guilty, right? You were born with it. I'm chronically guilty, and I choose people, like the honey inside me is the chronic guilt, and the bees that come to the honey are the people that blame me for everything. So if you can spot, if something upsets you, that might be a cue to look and say, why does this upset me? Is there something in my life I'm not seeing about myself or about my environment? The proper way to engage with the holographic universe is to literally ask. Asking creates a vessel to receive. So if I ask, why does this bother me? You'll get the answer. Why does it bother me? So, right, if I call a spade and I say that person is a pedophile, does that mean I'm a pedophile? No. If I say that person is a murderer, does that mean I'm a murderer? No. But on a deep level, we are responsible for the ways we kill our own innocence, which is treating our bodies terribly, suppressing our emotions, not allowing ourselves to feel joy. We are responsible for how we murder others, right? The way we cut people down with our words, even with our thoughts. We are responsible for that, but people take this too far and become tight. And what I see is that people that are too worried about like being blameful or a victim or being not responsible for their vibration, that sense of guilt actually keeps them very small, very small. I just want to give you permission. Like, it's okay to say something. It's okay. Don't get addicted to it. Don't stay on it. Learn why it's in your life and move forward. And also realize that everything is sent to you by God to help you. So it's really hard to stay mad at anything because we live in a loving universe. If you're still calling people names that were in your past, you didn't get the lesson. You haven't become the person that experience wanted you to become, fully at least, right? So don't take this idea too far, or at least maybe this is a case by case basis. I've just seen so often that people are just their throats are closed and they're just so unwilling to say something that if they would say it, they would acknowledge they're in a place and they would change their life, right? They might get out of the place that they're living that they need to get out of. They might, not speak to a friend anymore that it would really benefit them to stop speaking to. People sacrifice themselves in favor of being seen as good. And I'm just gonna like burst your bubble. Like, you don't need to prove that you're good. Like, we have a choice. Everybody has a dark side and a light side, and it's all God. And we get to choose which one of those energies drives our life. Is it going to be your heart, or is it going to be your survival brain or your ego or your quest for power over others? You get to decide, right? But we all have the potential for everything. We get to decide, but we're not bad if we say out loud, like, okay, yeah, this person never apologizes to me. There's something off about that. If you want to label it and call it a narcissist, whatever. Just so that you validate in your consciousness, you're feeling that it's not right, that somebody is in your life that never apologizes. That feeling is true. You're right. That is not something you should accept. The fact that medicine has provided a label for it is helpful to a certain extent, but it becomes harmful when you hold on to it and when you use it to feel superior and when you use it even to be a victim, which, is in a way a narcissistic thing to do, to be a perpetual victim. So, long story short, what I have seen intuitively in my work is that people keep themselves very small because they're not willing to exercise discernment. They're not willing to acknowledge things that they feel. They're so afraid that if they even say something out loud that's bad, that they simply stay stuck, which that's the freaking trickster right there. It wants you to stay small. You think you're being altruistic and you think you're being Jesus-like and you think you're being a good person, but what's actually happening is that you're so tightly enclosed in a prison that the payoff is that you get to feel like you deserve to go to heaven because you're not a bad person, yet the reality is that you never acknowledge things, so you remain surrounded by chaos, deception, and abuse. So I hope this hits home for someone. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a beautiful day.